Good day. Welcome back to Live Well with Aromatherapist Derby Goal. So for today, we will be having Jessie. Jessie is the lady behind Jessentiallife, and Jessie is a former skeptic of natural and holistic remedies who discovered the power of essential oils at the moment in her life when modern medicine was not able to help her. Because essential oils have changed her life, she later decided to formally pursue studying aromatherapy. Everybody, please welcome Jessie.
Hi, Derby. How are you?
Hello, hi Jessie. I'm good. How was your day?
It was good. Yeah, we went to the movie theater and with me, my husband, and watched a movie. How was your morning?
Oh, I was just cleaning some of my emptied essential oil bottles. Usual aromatherapy stuff.
Okay, cool. Are you working full time as an aromatherapist?
Yeah. How about you?
No, I'm not.
Oh, but
Yeah,
you do a lot of aromatherapy things. That's really
yeah,
impressive.
yeah, thank you. So yeah, I've decided I wasn't really having that success with my social media, so I decided to just get a different full-time job, and yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
I'm very curious. What was your past life? What were you doing before you started being an aromatherapist?
So before I studied to be an aromatherapist, I was working a lot in the education system. So I worked in elementary schools. Um, we call it cégep here in French Canada, so colleges and elementary schools. I really liked working in the education sector and helping people learn English is basically what I do.
Oh wow, you live in Canada, in Vancouver, is it?
I actually live in the French part of Canada, so it's called Quebec, the province of
Oh,
Quebec.
Quebec,
It's a
right.
French-speaking province. Yeah.
Wow, wonderful. You know what? I've heard there are a lot of amazing French literature or books about aromatherapy. Have you tried like skimming through some of those?
Yep, I have skimmed through
Oh,
them. And I guess that's kind of what gets me hesitant to practice as an aromatherapist because of a lot of things that I've learned in English speaking schools in North America is a lot different than what I see in France. So, yeah,
mm,
I have definitely
wow.
checked them out.
I'm so jealous. I wish I could understand like French and German to be able to read those, but I can't. But anyway, um, okay. So going back to you, I remember. I think it was a year ago that you started taking your first aromatherapy course. Is it 1 or 2
It
years
was
ago?
in 2019.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, so it's been 3 years.
3 years ago. Okay, because I remember you left a comment on one of my videos. Were you just starting then?
Yeah, I was doing a lot of research of like what it's like to be an aromatherapy student and whatnot. And you were the only person I heard that was giving really good advice and sharing your experience. So that's why when I started my YouTube channel, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start doing what Jerby did and share my experiences so that people have more experience and more like advice to kind of look through as they explore if they want to study aromatherapy or not.
Oh my god, that just gave me chills because look at you now. You've done so much more than what I'm doing right now. You've done a lot of work like in content creation. You're so active in TikTok. I love your videos as well. So that I'm really getting goosebumps.
I'm flattered
Yeah,
that you're saying this about me because I look up to you as well.
it's like it's like a little circle. That's so fun, Jessie, because I really love your videos and you're really killing it. I've been seeing your videos, but what really gave me that push to reach out to you is when I saw that you were taking a break. So I was wondering what is going on because from my perspective, you're doing really amazing videos, amazing content. I love what you're saying. Um, and I think yeah, you showed some of the books that you were reading. So I was like, oh, I'm so jealous of her. I wish I could understand some of it. And then all of a sudden you announced that you were taking a break. But I understand that because I also go through phases, and maybe we'll tackle that in a bit because also this podcast is an advocate of mental health. So I also know that as a content creator, maybe not as robust as you, but as a content creator, sometimes we go through phases of being burnt out. Creating content is really like taxing. Takes a lot of our time, effort, thinking what to create. how to execute and editing. My gosh, editing is the bane of my existence. But
Yeah.
when you started, so let's go back a few steps. When you started searching for a school, what were your key factors in deciding which school to go to, and where did you end? I think you've already enrolled with a lot of courses since 2019. So could you please share with us your aromatherapy journey?
Sure. Yeah. Do you want me to talk about how I discovered essential oils first or
Yes,
go
please.
into? Okay.
Your medical concern I saw in your bio.
Yeah. So pretty much my whole life, I was really like pharmaceutically minded. And there's nothing wrong with pharmaceuticals. But I was to the point where I was like, anyone who does anything outside of doctors, like natural remedies and holistic things, I thought it was just nonsense. I thought people were kind of crazy for going like trying new things that are like plants and stuff. So my whole life, I was just kind of like, oh, this is nonsense. I don't know why these people use like oils or herbs and whatnot. And I'm giving this testimony as even though it's embarrassing, is because I think a lot of people can have experienced this. So up until my 20s, that's what I thought. And then I had this health issue, which I'm not going to get into the details, but I had this one health issue that doctors couldn't really help me with. I was seeing specialists. Specialists were like, yeah, we can't really do certain treatments that would maybe be helpful. And I was like, okay, well, there's nothing I can do with my health. Like I was in a lot of debilitating circumstances with that. And around this time, I was kind of open to like herbs and plants and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll be open to if I find something, I'll try it. And I was at this trade show, which I'm assuming you know what I'm going to say is I was at this trade show and there were some MLM reps selling kits, to start your essential oil journey. And they were telling me all these crazy things that oils can do, some of which I'm like, oh, I don't think they should be saying. And some things where I was like, oh, that's really interesting. But it was enough to make me want to try it. So I ended up purchasing a kit. I played around with it, when I had a headache or muscular stuff. And I was like, hey, this stuff actually kind of works, which for me, it was kind of mind blowing that something could be so effective and so quickly. And then I was thinking, I was like, wait, like this problem that I've had for the past, I think it was a year at this time, I was like, doctors can't help me with. Like, the only thing they can do is basically just highly medicate me to the point where I'm just not all there mentally. And I was looking at different things, different properties and different oils, and did some research. And I started using oils that I was like, holy man, this actually works. So I went to my doctor, and of course, I always recommend people go see their doctor. Ideally, they're open to you trying things, like have like promoting that open communication. But for me, my doctor was like, look, if what you're using, because I was on this certain kind of medication where it took like 2 hours for the actual meds to kick in, but the oils took like minutes. So I said to my doctor, I said, look, like when I put this on, it works faster than the meds. Like, can we start cutting things down? Like, what does it look like? And he basically told me I could drop all the stuff. And if what I'm using is working, then that's good. So for me, that was a game changer for me, just realizing how much potential oils have and how powerful they are. Of course, I don't want to say they can treat everything or, I want to be careful about talking about that. But from my personal experience, it gave me empowerment to take care of my own health. Of course, doing it responsibly with my doctor. And since then, I was like, this is so crazy. Like, I need to learn more. And I wasn't ready to jump into essential oils, like actually studying it formally until a few years later, where I was like, maybe I should start studying formally. And I don't know if you know who Liz Fulcher is. Do you know who Liz Fulcher is?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So she has a podcast, the Aromatic Wisdom podcast. And I'd be listening to it. And she'd like talk about different kind of essential oils and like she was teaching so well. And I was like, man, like I want to learn more and more. So she was really who inspired me to want to formally study because I realized it's a lot more than just, oh, this oil smells good or it feels good. And what was your question after that?
But wait, so I'm curious, what were the oils that you were using and what was the concern?
I actually don't feel comfortable talking about it publicly.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, but I remember you started with doTERRA, is it right? It's yeah. Oh no, it's the other one.
Yeah, I
Same
actually started.
with me.
Yeah, I actually have a YouTube video where I talk about the different essential oil brands I've used, like my brand journey and which
Mm.
ones I currently use. But yeah, I started with Young Living shortly after something didn't really feel right for me, which no judgment to people who love Young Living. It wasn't for me. So I switched to doTERRA, was at it for a few
Oh.
years. And then after that, something kind of clicked like, is there really just one or two essential oil companies that sell good oils? And that's when I started expanding my horizon in essential oil brands.
Same with me. I started with Young Living because at that time, 2018, Young Living was really loud here in the Philippines. But I think doTERRA was slowly inching their presence. So I started with Young Living. I even got to know like some of the US based leaders. And then same with you, I realized, is it only Young Living out there? So then, the more we use them, the more we get curious, the more we get to know, oh, it's not just them. There are a lot of other brands and they're good as well. And they're cheaper. So
Yeah.
anyway, going back to you, I'm curious of um so you were able to manage and support your health crisis,
Mhm.
and that's what prompted you to learn more about it, and you got to know Liz Fulcher, which inspired you to take your courses formally. But where did you take your first formal studies, and what are the factors that made you decide to go to that? Because I know in the US there are a lot. Here in the Philippines, we don't have any. So it was easier for us to decide. But for you, I can imagine from schools from Canada, from schools from the US, how were you able to narrow it down and decide your final school?
Okay, so that's a really good question. It could be something I talk about for hours, but I won't. But of course, I looked up videos of people who have done this before. That's where I found you. And then I just looked at different kind of criteria. What did I want? What did I not want? Um, I I singled it down to probably about 5 different schools. And then I asked myself, what are some important things that I want to ask this school? I shot out an email to all of them. And then I think there was about 2 or 3 that gave me okay, like good responses. And then that's when I dwindled it down from there and decided. But I would say, like, I really asked myself, like, what's important, what's not. If there's some things that you don't believe in that some schools teach, I think it's important to ask about because some people might have certain spiritual convictions. Or if somebody wants to really work with animals, go see one that's more oriented to animals. But yeah, I just kind of asked around different questions. I knew I wanted a school that also was able to answer questions when I had them because I know some schools aren't really that available. Um, I don't really know what else advice I have, but I know I have a video where I talk about things I wish I would have known before studying aromatherapy and just different things that I encourage people to consider, which I would recommend that they come look at if they're curious. But I actually don't share publicly what school I study at, which just might be surprising to some people, just for different personal reasons. Because I want people to choose on their own and not say, well, Jessie studied there, so I'm going to study there. And yeah, I just want people to look at what's best for them.
Good point. And I will link down your video so people can check it. All right.
Also, another thing to consider is if you wanted to have like written or online courses, because sometimes for some people like myself, I really like being able to print it out or having a manual. And for those wondering, like, did Jessie really study at a legit school? My school is actually approved by a handful of associations, 2 of them being NAHA, so the National Association of Holistic Aromatherapy at level 3, and then AIA at the highest level. So just for those wondering, like, is she just making up that she studied somewhere? Is it like a fake course? That's what the
How
kind of
dare they question you?
well, I understand if people are like, why won't she share? Is it because it's not a real program? So I wanted to just say that it was known and recognized by many associations.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, right? Yeah. Well, my personality is I'm very candid, so always tell people things usually. But yeah, um, for everybody who's listening, just so Jessie and all the information that's coming out from her mouth. Come on, you don't just get that from Google. In any case, the words from her is so much more credible than what you can search on your Google search bar. Just saying.
Google's kind of dangerous for essential oils.
That is right. Actually, that's one of the prompts that made me decide to study it. It was then that, yeah, you were right. I was one of the few, not sure if I'm the only one, but I know I was one of the few who were making videos about it. Um, and not because I wanted, it was all accidental. Not because I wanted to be an aromatherapist then. I was just sharing all the things that I'm doing. If you check my YouTube channel, it's like a hodgepodge of things. It's a little messy because it basically reflects on the things that I'm currently doing. So at that time I was just dabbling into oils, enjoying it and making videos out of it. And then I realized a lot of people are leaving comments asking me about it. And so it struck me, okay, like a few five girls would message me in a day and I would say, okay, um I can't be Googling the answers and telling them that that's kind of irresponsible. And that is how I really decided on taking my studies. And at the time, at least for you, you have more choices. And I'm very jealous because you have, like, you're bilingual, multilingual. So you can explore more schools. With us, it's just check out what's in the US. That's it. It's a little sad. And when it
Oh,
was, yeah, during my time, I was just deciding between two schools. It's because those are the searchable schools. There's no school in the Philippines. We just came out with the first aromatherapy certification this year. It's in partnership with Jade. And with that, I know all the hiccups that you were saying, that some schools they don't really reply, or some schools they're all on your computers, and then not a lot of people are into that like you. Other people would appreciate printables like printouts or off screen times. So those little issues, I try as much as possible to iron them out and make all of those challenges more manageable for the Philippine school. So yeah. All right. So let's move on. But man, how dare they question your credibility? Come on.
I'd
Okay.
understand though if people are like, yeah, I study, but I won't tell you where. It makes sense. It makes sense.
My gosh. I guess for the I guess the people here are less critical. I'm not so sure if anyone has ever thought of that. I not a lot of aromatherapists also would share their school here. I've met some who prefer not to say it, and I respect that because I mean, it's your prerogative. It's just not, I'm just always free to share things, but everyone is not like that. So anyway, Jessie, when did you finish your first, like, your level? I'm not so sure with your school. Is it also level one, two, three? It's the same, right?
Yeah, it's kind of a very special program because it's
Okay.
all together, but there's two courses. So it was like after I'm done the first course, which I think it was in 2021. Technically, I could have become a part of association as like level one, like for NAHA. And then after the program, I think right now I would technically just be level two because you have to practice for a year in order to be level three. But yeah, so it was after my first course, I was able to say level one if I wanted to become a part of an organization.
Oh, but did you decide on being a part of any professional org?
I actually was. I
Oh,
was a part of I don't, should I say, well, I have nothing against it. Yeah, but yeah, I was a
yeah.
part of an association, the AIA, for a little bit as kind of a student. And then after there was a renewal thing with my membership, and I was just really asking myself, like, do I want to follow through with this if I'm not actually practicing as an aromatherapist? Like, I'm not really doing that right now. So I'm asking myself a lot of questions.
Which is a good way of deciding on things. Like me, I didn't really become a part of any organization until much later on. So like I finished my level one in 2019, I think. Was it? Yeah. And yeah, 2019, but I only decided to become a member last year, 2 years ago, during the pandemic. So yeah, I that's what I always tell the people here. That doesn't mean you're studying about aromatherapy. You'd have to be like, you have to shell out money, and the Philippines is very price sensitive. So I always try to remind them, if you want to put money on it, make sure you're gonna be using it. And if you're not, like, you just put your money there and sign up and enroll and become a member, but you're not really seeing any benefits out of it. Why pay for it, right? Yeah, good judgment. Um, So going back to you, now you are on your level two, right? Level two, and then you're still studying for your level three, or
I'm
you've taken
done.
a pause. Oh,
I'm
okay.
done. Yeah, no, I'm completed it. So technically my program's a level 3, but I cannot be at a level 3 until I've worked enough, which I don't think I
Oh,
ever will.
yeah. Yeah, actually, me, when I finished my level one, I was happy to be at level one because I'm
Mm.
doing all of. I mean, I've already been doing all of these things. But I just finished my level two this year because of the school that we're bringing, and then taking up level three because we are also bringing level three. So it's because of the school. But honestly, I'm happy with level one. And since level one, I've decided to branch out on other things. Like you've mentioned earlier about animals, so I'm into that because I'm rescuing cats in the Philippines. So I really wanted to focus on animal aromatherapy. Anyways, I didn't really see myself like taking up level three as needed. So anyway,
Mhm.
let's go to your recent announcement. You mentioned that you wanted to take a break. Is it only from content creation or is it from aromatherapy altogether?
That's a really good question. So I recently announced on my Instagram that I was taking a break from social media. So from YouTube, from Instagram, on TikTok, unless I'm inspired to really make something. And that's because for myself, I've been making content, creating videos, editing videos for the past like 2 years ish. And there were a lot of weeks where I'd put in like, 5 to 20 hours worth like in a week just to make this happen. Because my dream and my goal was to monetize my social media presence. So that means to make money off of being on social media. And I've seen other people do it, not in the essential oil niche, but in other niches. So I told myself, while I'm doing my program, I'll get a part time job, which I was working in a school. And then by the time I'm done my aromatherapy studies, hopefully I'll be able to be making enough money to do that as a part time gig or do that as a full time gig. So I think by the time I got to the end of my aromatherapy studies, one, I was burnt out because I had a lot going on. I was working, I was studying, I was trying to build a business on social media. And two, I was also just kind of like, is this really worth the time and the energy I'm putting into it? I really loved connecting with people and building a community of people who love essential oils. But I also asked myself, like, is this really worth it? I feel like a lot of things I'm doing is just kind of like in vain in a sense, because I don't know if it's worth continuing. So that's why I'm taking a break. Is it temporary? Maybe. Is it not? I don't know. Like, I really don't know where this is going to go, but I know from my mental health, I need to just take a break, reflect, step back, and see if it's something that I'll be continuing later.
Hmm. Well, I hope it's temporary. The community wouldn't want to lose you because you really put out good information. But I guess I wanted to also like sort of inspire you to just keep going. I mean, you can take breaks, like as I do also myself. From time to time, I step back and sometimes you see nothing on my YouTube channel. Like I also take podcast breaks. I take breaks because sometimes when things get too routinary, you lose the spark, you lose the light, right? And we don't really want that. I feel that people can sense it when the information or the content is half baked. So I like when I present myself, whether on audio, like here on the podcast or on my YouTube channel, they see my boom energy. I'm always very wow. So I hope to maintain that. And it's hard to maintain that for everyone who's listening. The content creation, especially for what Jessie is doing, everything is very well thought of. Everything is very well researched on. It's not like, oh, it's my daily vlog and I'll show you what I'm doing during my day. It's not as easy as that. We try to. It's a very thoughtful process. That's it.
Oh, thank
um,
you.
Jesse, have you ever thought of like coming out with your own workshops, like starting with essential oil safety because you're very very good at it?
Here's the kind of catch is because, yeah, I've taken schools from like NAHA and AIA approved schools. Like I've taken programs and courses and stuff, but I also speak French. So I see that their safety information is so different. So I've asked this for myself, like if I ever was to become an aromatherapist or give workshops, what safety information would I be giving? Like, would I be giving just what, Tisserine and what all my English speaking schools tell me, or would I mix it in with the French stuff too? So I think that's kind of something that stopped me from doing it. And I'm more comfortable doing that in English, and people where I live don't speak English. So it's kind of a language barrier as well.
Oh wow, that's really amazing. Wow.
It's
But
something.
I mean, I'm very interested about that. Like, would you be able to share a comparison of the things that you learned from French literature and English literature, and perhaps share with the people on your internal struggles about it? I think it's a good talk point to, like, right now all the things we know are the things that's written in English because it's like a predominant language, but aromatherapy actually rooted from the French culture, right? So wouldn't it be better for us to also like take a peek into their safety practices? I think that's a good topic for you to talk about, especially that not a lot of people are able to do that. At
Yeah.
least right now, nobody's like creating content about that. Wouldn't you think that's a good idea?
It could definitely be interesting. Yeah. And you asked me a little bit, what are some differences?
Hmm.
So I'll give some basic differences. But first of all, I want to say this French aromatherapy, I'm putting quotation marks, that MLMers use to push unsafe practices is not the French aromatherapy I'm referring to. I just want to make that clear because I know a lot of times when people are like, oh yeah, French aromatherapy, my company does that. No, it's not what I'm talking about. And of course, I did a video on that so people can look it up, or we can link it in your show notes. But I've noticed some differences between English aromatherapy and French aromatherapy. I'm using quotation marks on each because some people will say that doesn't exist. Is that French aromatherapy will use higher dilution rates, generally speaking, than English speaking. Um, there's a lot more internal usage coming with French aromatherapy, whereas English aromatherapy, generally we say we don't recommend it, or in special circumstances when you're supervised by a professional. There are also other different essential oils. Well, they'll say is safe in some circumstances in French, but unsafe in English, or safe in English, but unsafe in French aromatherapy. So it's kind of a little bit of a lot to navigate through, which is something that I'm kind of hoping to dive into a little bit in the upcoming year as I take a break from pursuing aromatherapy like formally. I'll be kind of digging into my own books, resources, and find out kind of what is my stance on this with all the knowledge that I have.
Got it. So right now, I feel that what's really stopping you is that you feel that you're not really winging your social media side, content creation, monetizing factor of it, right?
That I'm not winning, like that is not being successful.
Winging, yeah.
Yeah, like if it was super successful, I don't think I would be this discouraged and wanting to step back and really reflect. Um,
Mm.
but I mean, it's not all about the numbers. It's not all about having a big following. But I think there comes a point in our lives where we really have to ask ourselves, like, what's worth investing in with our time and our energy. Um, and in a new season of life that I'm entering in, I have to ask myself, is it worth investing all the time that I have been investing or not? So, yeah.
I see. I saw your post about that, but I hope that I can um give you a inspiration. I would say to just keep going, because you've done a lot and it's really good content. And maybe try to think about, like, maybe what if you're just planting seeds right now and eventually, like after a few years, it'll grow and it'll reap benefits, right? I mean, for some people, they get viral in an instant. A lot of those superficial topics are easily going viral. I understand I saw even your post saying that, oh, we're doing this content and it's not really getting as much traction, and that you feel that it's more about this niche. I understand it's harder. It seems like there's shadow banning, or there's like a filter for the health and lifestyle category, right? But I hope that you still put out content from time to time. You can step back, maybe tone down your cadence, but Well, for me, in Filipino terms, it's sayang. I'm teaching a Filipino term. It's sayang. It's I can't find the exact word to say it, but um, what's let me Google it out. It's so hard. It's sayang. So when people say that, um, sayang in English, it says love, but it's not love. It's more on like regret. It can't translate it well on anyway, whatever. I just hope that you still come out with amazing content. Maybe not as much because it does take time, but I wouldn't want to lose someone like you in the community. At
Oh, that's
least.
so sweet. Yeah, I mean, I'll probably come back and post like you said once in a while, like when I'm
Yeah.
inspired, but not
Yeah.
always be ready on my DMs to all the messages and stuff like that. Like learn how
Yeah.
to have balance and a healthy relationship with social media.
Correct, correct. And I'm sure your followers would understand that. I see a lot of engagement on your social media. You have so much more engagement than me. Come on. so, so,
I don't think anything. But that's
so
funny to say that.
yeah. No, I mean, I hope you consider like being still a part of that community because you've done a lot of amazing work. And
Mm,
and if you're interested, I would love to have you like to have a webinar or lecture for the Philippine school comparing the French and North American practice. I think that would be interesting, especially for us Filipinos because we also have our own culture. So it's like a nice way to have a few. But in the Philippines, what I can say is it's a lot more folk tradition. So I'm not so sure if how that would compare to like the French practice. We have like a rich history in plant medicine and folk use, which is not really parallel sometimes with essential oils. Because when you're working with plant material, it's way different versus working with oils, right? So in the past 2 years, I've been meeting with a lot of the local farmers here. For example, people normally boil guava leaves for their wound, and it's like an age old practice. So people who, for example, if they distill guava leaf, they will say, "Oh, since I put boiled guava leaves on my wound, I can just put the oil." It's not like that, right? So we try to make them understand that it's not 1:1 because of the process of distillation. It's magnified, and so you cannot do that. A lot of education efforts here as well, and I think your expertise being exposed to both French literature and aromatherapy and the North American practice, I think that's a good lens to peek in. I
mm.
hope you're interested to please take your break. I don't want to pressure you. Take your break, take as much as you can, but when you're ready, and at least I'm letting you know that there's this seat that you can take in and perhaps have a lecture with us, at least for the students for education.
Okay, I'll think about it. Thanks for the offer.
Okay. So what are you doing now that you've I feel that you've offloaded some of your calendar from creating content? What are you doing now? What's keeping you busy?
So it's keeping me busy. So that's a really good question because I'm actually off for the summer because I worked for the school board. So I have the summer off. Worked really hard, finished my aromatherapy studies just this summer. And then I'm learning Ukrainian. So I'm learning another language.
Wow.
So that takes a lot of time. And then also just trying to refine balance in my life and do things that um, promote a lot of self care and harmony in my life. Because I feel like I've been go, 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 really stressed for the past, like, I don't know, probably 5 years. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to take the rest of the summer to just really relax and learn Ukrainian and yeah, just try and find balance again.
Wow. Has the pandemic affect you, or how did it affect you with your aromatherapy practice, or maybe with yourself as a whole?
So sorry, COVID happened after I started my aromatherapy studies. I don't know how many case studies you've had to do. But for those who don't know what case studies are, basically it's like you get volunteers and you find out what kind of health issues they have, and then you create a blend and or a product for them, and then they try it and then they test it out. So COVID happened in March, basically when I started doing case studies. And in my province in Canada, it was illegal to be in somebody else's house. Like
Oh,
if I got caught in somebody's house, it was like a minimum $1,000 fine.
wow.
So yeah. So at this point, I'm like, hey, I guess I'm not going to be doing case studies because I have to see the person physically to give them the bottle. And then that's when I contacted my school and I was like, look, like, I don't think COVID's ended anytime soon. Like, can we do something so that like I could do my case studies or like exceptions or whatever? Which we got some exceptions to help us do it distance wise, sort of. And then I also was supposed to get married in
Oh.
2020.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was supposed to get married in August. I think it was August 2020. And then COVID basically canceled it. So then we had to like cancel the wedding and then we ended up getting married a little earlier. So I think COVID definitely affected my life then. So it like made us cancel the wedding and then have like a makeshift wedding kind of. And then after that, of course, it kind of really slowed down my process in finishing my certification program because I started in 2019 and then I finally finished in 2022. So it took 3 years. I think if COVID didn't happen, it could have taken 2 years.
Yeah, yeah. How many case studies did you have to go through for that's level 2 or level 3?
It's technically level 3,
Okay.
but coming out of it, I'm level 2 because I have to like work towards it, if that makes sense. So it's like level
Mm-hmm.
2, but it's level 3, but I'm at level 2 until I work up to level 3. But we had to do 30 case studies.
Wow.
Yeah. And I don't know,
Wow.
I've heard other schools, sometimes people's case studies are like one case study is equal to 3. Like, how do I say this?
Wow.
For me, my case study is like meeting the person, making the blend, doing the whole thing for like, a minimum 4 to 6 weeks. But I've heard of like some schools where they do a case study and it's like meeting the person is one case study, making the product is one case study. So when I say 30, I mean like
Wow.
full 30 case studies. Yeah. So it's
Correct.
it's long.
Wow, I haven't heard of the school splitting one case study into three, but at least for us, we same with you. The process is the same. You have to meet them, and then there has to be a feedback session because you have to also streamline your blend, if that makes sense. You have to modify it, adjust it according to the feedback, and then before you come out with the full conclusion. So it takes months to finish one case study. But what happened with me was that since I've been working with people since I first started with oils, um, I just backtracked. So when I started with my case studies, I just got my phone and I have this habit of taking pictures of everything in my everyday life. So that came in handy because when I was working with my case study, I just had to pull my phone. Okay, oh, December 2018, I met this girl, and then pictures I have. So it was easy for me to finish. But normally, case studies would take months, and that is where you have to meet the person to get like the progress, the feedback. But 30, wow, that's a lot. Because
Yeah,
for
30,
me,
30.
had for our school at level 1 we only had to make 5. I think it was only 5. For level 2 that's another 10, so 15. And then for level 3 I think that is when you need 20, I think.
Yeah, I'm
So
jealous.
no, I mean I think it's almost the same, but with you, because for you you've studied and you'd have to finish all 30 to get to level 2 and then practice for a year to get to level 3, correct? But you've already studied the theoreticals for 1 to 3. For us, I feel that it's broken in segments. So like level 1, you study this amount number of oils and then work on 5 people. Level 2, another set of oils and then work on 10 people. Level 3, another set of oils and work on 20 people. It's almost the same. Wow, but yours is like, oh, you need a lot of time for that.
Yeah, it was definitely stressful.
But you know what? I also feel that maybe the reason why your school is structured that way is that are there a lot of more people practicing aromatherapy in your area? I mean, at least for the coverage of that school.
Um, that's a really good question. I'm not sure. Like, there's people all over the world in my school.
Mm,
Um, but I don't know. I think there's a fair amount of people, but I don't really know.
I mean, for them to require for the students to have 1 year practice, is
I
it
think,
practice with the hospital as clinical aromatherapist?
oh, that's the NAHA requirements.
Mm.
Yeah, so it's like a program can be a level 3, but you won't be a level 3 when you join NAHA. You have to be like start at a level 2, work there, like work in a clinical setting or your own kind of clinic for a year, I believe, and then after that you can go to level 3. But your school program has to be up to that level 3 for you to work towards level 3. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, because I think that was one of the um confusion here in the Philippines. In the Philippines, aromatherapy is not at all I would say acknowledged by hospitals from um these allopathic medicine side. So it's hard for people to even think about going to level 3. Like even I never really imagined of having to take level 3. It's because how can I even finish my practice? No hospital is gonna let us at least even if I have a doctor relative, it's not possible to have practice. So it was kind of a missing puzzle for us. Not until well, 3 years down the road, things are better now. I hear more, well, not more. I hear some doctors who are open to work with oils. So hopefully, another 3 years down the line, hopefully we'll have that. Yeah, I was just wondering because wow, that's a lot for a beginner to take. All 30
Yeah.
case studies, and I can just imagine the challenge for you being caught up in COVID, all the lockdown, and having to think about the fee of $1,000. Jesse, you know what? $1,000 for us here in the Philippines, that's like, I would say, 4 months worth of monthly salary for like a fresh graduate person. Imagine that. Wow.
Yeah, it was really bad for like many, many months. Like
Oh
if we
my
got fined
God.
when we were with anyone in public, or
Mm-hmm.
if they caught us at people's homes, or like they would even at certain hours the police would go by, and if you were on the streets, like you needed to have a card that proved that you were working at this time. If not, you get a fine. Like it was really strict where I lived.
But I think the strictness played well. How was your numbers there so far? Like during that time when they were highly strict, how was it
Oh,
going?
we were one of the worst. Like maybe it helped later, but no, I think,
Okay.
yeah, our province is really, really strict and we were bad for a really long time, like one of the worst. But
I have
I didn't really look at the numbers after. Maybe they were better after.
I have cousins, but they're in Toronto on the other
Mm.
side, right? And I see them like going on cruises. I was like, wow, isn't it still in pandemic? But they're going on cruises. But here in the Philippines, it's a little strict, but a lot of challenges still. Anyway, I'm curious of all the books behind you.
Okay.
Could you please share with us like your top 5 favorite
Oh my
aromatherapy books?
gosh. Okay. I'm going to take it out just to see.
Mhm.
So I'll let you take a look if you're curious for yourself.
Wow.
Um, but I would say, oh, and then some French ones here. I would say my favorite one, I'll say the whole title for people who are interested, Essential Oil Safety by Robert Tisserand and Rodney Young. A really good book for those who really want to get into essential oil safety. But of course, keep in mind that it's created for healthcare practitioners, so it's not the easiest to read. So something to keep in mind. Another fun book is The Complete Book of Essential Oils and Aromatherapy by Valerie Ann Warwood. It's super thick. If you buy it, you might be surprised how thick it is, but you can look up so many different cool things and find essential oils for it. Um, yeah, so hard to choose just a few more. um, Also, one that I'm kind of liking in terms of being practical, but he's not an aromatherapist, so I don't know if we're going to keep this in or not. But The Healing Power of Essential Oils by Eric Zielinski. I believe he's a chiropractor, but he really puts the book in a way that's really easy to read for people. and it's not complicated like the recipes he gives. Um,
I also have his book, but all in ebook version, like the books that you mentioned so far.
oh, that's cool. Yeah, no, I really like it. And I know some people kind of are like, oh, after that one Netflix series, I forget what it's called,
Mm,
Unwell,
unwell. Hmm.
he kind of got a bad rap because they took cuts of things that didn't look good to a lot of aromatherapists. But if you've actually seen the way he promotes the usage of essential oils, I think he's pretty well rounded. Um, I don't know what else to say. So those are my top three for now. Um, yeah, I think I might leave it at that for my top three.
Yeah, let's. Wow, you have a lot of choices. That's why it's hard to choose.
Yeah.
But I like your choices. I also like the three of them. I feel that Valerie's book is a good beginner's book. I feel that it's a better beginner's book than Tisserand's, but I feel that every aromatherapist, especially those who are taking the certification, should have a copy of Tisserand because a lot of good information out there. Although it's not something that you can read on your leisure time and enjoy because it's a textbook. It's very texty, so it's a good reference book. Um,
Definitely.
but for leisure, I think Wormwood is also okay. I think have you checked out Andrea Bourget's book? I think Heart of Aromatherapy.
No, I haven't, but it's on my Amazon wish list.
Mm, yeah, so that also I like for beginners because most of the people I meet here, um, they won't appreciate the Saran's book.
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't
not.
appreciate his book first time, but now it's like our Bible. We have to have it, and I've been asking Saran, when are you coming out with your next edition?
It's supposed to be really soon, hey?
Yeah, but I think he lost the copy. Have you heard of that issue? So he was moving, I think, from Europe to California, and I think the freight forwarder, I'm not so sure, but it got lost during the transit. That's really sad. And he said that it's his only copy because with that copy, all the latest case studies are in there. Blah 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 blah. Years of work are in there, and it's lost. So they'd have to do it all over again. Those
Kind of
are the
heartbreaking.
troubles. Yeah, very right. So it's gonna take a few more years again to release, but it will. So right now, I'm telling our students if you can't get that copy, get it. But a newer copy will be released maybe in 1 to 2 years. So up to you if you're gonna pay. So anyway, thank you for sharing your books. I
You're
really
welcome. You're
one of the
welcome.
ways that I like getting to know another person is like their taste of books, not just their taste of oils, because I know people normally ask, okay, what are your favorite oils, which I will be asking you in a bit. But I also want to check out, like, oh, hey, you didn't mention any French book.
Yeah, because I have like this one French one I like, but I don't know how legit it is. Like, you know how for us we speak English, we
Mm.
can look at an English aromatherapy book and know if it's legit or not pretty quick. For me, looking at French literature, I'm not really sure is this legit in the eyes of French aromatherapists or not. So I was really careful in wanting not to promote it just in case it wasn't as legit as I thought it was. Does that make
Oh,
sense?
got it. Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
I'm also wondering why did you decide to learn Ukrainian language like versus
Um,
other?
okay, so I speak English is my first language, French is my second language, Spanish is my third language. And then since the invasion in Ukraine, I wanted to be able to help the refugees. And also, my roots are in Ukraine. So, on my mom's side and my dad's side,
Oh,
geographically, that's where they're from. So, I thought it'd be a cool way to get in touch with my roots, my culture, and then I guess my culture, my roots, and then to help people who were coming in from Ukraine.
wow, that's so
Yeah.
beautiful. Yes, now it makes sense. Wow. Well, if I had the choice, I wanted to learn also German and French because I really wanted to read their books about aromatherapy. I'm just so jealous of. I like I've heard a lot of good German books in aromatherapy. I'm not sure if you've heard of Eliane Zimmerman.
No, but it sounds like maybe familiar. But
Yeah, she has a lot of German texts. that she also does hydrosols and distillation. Have you ever like thought of wanting to try distillation?
Um, it's not really something that's come to like make me passionate to want, but I think if we ever moved to a farm and we grew a lot of our own plants, I think it could be a cool project on the side, but it's not something I'm really that interested in at the moment.
Ooh,
Have you?
I thought I was interested, but eventually no. I don't. I sometimes when you see other people, oh wow, they're distilling. That's so cool. So I received like a gift a few last year, I think, a still, and I was so excited. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be trying it. I started to grow some roses here to want to distill some hydrosols, but the fact that I'm scared of fire and flame, open flame, it's not just gonna work. So eventually, I just sold off the still. I don't think it's something that I can. It's a nice thought, but sustainably, no, I don't think it'll work.
Yeah, I
But
understand.
I did take a few courses from Anne Harmon. Anne Harmon, because she distills hydrosols, and I wanted to. Her book is also good if you're like looking for books. Anne Harmon's Harvest to Hydrosol. It's also a good book, but she's coming out with a new one, so wait for the new one to come out.
Hmm. Well, I have hydrosols, the
Suzanne
next
Cathy.
aromatherapy.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
I
right. Yeah.
saw it. I spotted it. Yeah, that's I also have that. In the Philippines, we have a lot of distillers of hydrosols. Maybe because of the lack of like tons of plant material to distill, so it makes more sense to produce hydrosols versus essential oils. So yeah. Anyway, um, any oh, what are your favorite oils right now? Because I know it may change. So right now in your
Okay.
phase in life, please share us your top 5 oils.
Okay. So yeah, it may change because they always change, but I would say whenever I feel like a lot of tension, nervous tension, different kind of stressful feelings, anxious feelings, my go-to, which I think is just it hits the spot every time, would be lavender mixed with frankincense. So when I say lavender, I mean Lavandula gestifolia because there's lots of species. And frankincense, I guess you can use whatever one, but I usually use Carteri or a mix of frankincense. So frankincense and lavender is my favorite combo for relaxing. I love bergamot. Bergamot, if you guys love the smell of Earl Grey tea, that's what you're smelling is bergamot. It's really relaxing for the nervous system, for sleep. I just love it. It's so nostalgic, which is phototoxic for a lot of you guys that don't know, meaning you don't want to be putting it on your skin and then going out in the sun. But you can buy a version of bergamot. So Ferrano coumarin free bergamot, that makes it not phototoxic. Just a little side note for those who love bergamot, want to wear it, but they also want to go outside. And then my fourth one, I think, would be black spruce. I'm not a huge tree lover in terms of essential oil smells, but black spruce is one that just like hits the spot so nicely. So if you love tree oils or are curious, black spruce is a really great grounding oil and also good for adrenal support. So I love that. Also, bergamot and black spruce, mixing them together, actually surprising nice combo. And if I had to say a fifth one, the fifth one is not really something I like in terms of smell, but it's a lifesaver for muscles for me, and that would be marjoram, so sweet marjoram. And I'll save the Latin name just because there's different kind of marjorams, but Oregana marjorana. Yeah, I said that right. Sweet marjoram. I'm always worried when I say the Latin name. So yeah, sweet marjoram, if it's anything muscular related, like especially if there's discomfort or pain because of tightness, even just to soothe inflammation, that's my go-to oil. Like it's my must-haves in my own kit. So
Wow, I'm interested to try bergamot and spruce. Let me try that after our conversation. Yeah, sounds interesting. I'm sure it would smell interesting.
yeah,
All
it's
right,
very nice.
thank you so much for that, Jessie. Any final words for our listeners?
Okay, good. So my last words would be that you can conquer the world with just like 5 essential oils. I know sometimes when people start using essential oils, they think they need to buy like 100 oils or 80 oils, but really just having 5 or 10, you can pretty much do anything you could imagine with oils, like in comparison to having a stack of like 100 oils. And also, if you are just beginning to use essential oils, enjoy them, have fun, but also know that there are some safety issues around some essential oils, and it's important to use them safely, but they are lovely and life changing. At least they have been for me.
Wow, thank you so much for that. So everyone, don't forget to check out Jessie. I will link all her social media below, even if she's on a beautiful break. I hope she comes back because she does a lot of amazing content and everyone will benefit from it. I'm sure you will enjoy as well. Anyway, thank you so much again for today, Jessie. It's
Thank
such an
you.
honor to have you.
Oh, salamat. Thank you for having me. Salamat means thank you in Filipino, for those who are wondering. But yeah, I will also give you the links to all of the essential oil videos that I mentioned. So I have a playlist for people considering aromatherapy and then the French aromatherapy video.
Wonderful. And I look
Okay.
forward to have you as a lecturer, at least even one time, come on, to share your knowledge because I honestly say, I can honestly say that, people will appreciate your expertise in comparing both lenses of aromatherapy.
Good. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I guess that's all for today. If you have any other ideas or questions or topics that you'd want me to cover in my future podcast episodes, don't forget to shoot me an email at couchwasabi@outlook.com. And I hope to see you on my next Live Well with Aromatherapist